films, cassettes. Gosh, I miss those times, man.
The Jaguar GR1 has been in the British territory for quite some time, but in the latest update, we got the Jaguar GR1A. While this newer variant handles pretty much the same as the previous Jaguar, it has access to the more powerful Rolls-Royce Turbo Mecha Limited R-Door Mark 104 engines, a name which simply rolls off the tongue. These engines increase the acceleration, cruise speed, and overall maximum speed of the aircraft. While the engine upgrades are the biggest difference, it also had new navigation assistance, increased draft and flow capability, as well as upgraded sidewinder capabilities. All of these upgrades at a slightly increased battle rating of 10.0. And before we get into this video, lads, I do have to say that this is quickly becoming one of my favourite jets in War Thunder. Alright lads, today we're going to be covering the Jaguar GR1A. This is a rank 7 battle rating 10.0 attacker located in the British territory. Yes, that's right, this is an attacker, meaning you do get an attacker spawn. This is an air spawn, meaning you start in the air and at speed, and you are pretty close to the enemy as well. And considering the Jaguar GR1A gets access to 2 AIM-9Gs, it makes for some very interesting gameplay. To unlock this plane, you're going to have to grind out 340,000 research points before unlocking the plane for the cost of 930,000 silver lions. To put this vehicle in your lineup, it's going to cost you 260,000 silver lions. As with all top tier jet aircraft, I'd strongly recommend getting the Expert in Ace qualifications, costing 930,000 silver lions for the Expert qualification and 2,800 golden eagles for the Ace. In terms of the repair costs, and it is pretty expensive. In realistic battles, you can expect to pay 12,736 silver lions. Going on to the rewards, and when playing realistic battles and with a premium account, you can expect an RP modifier of 696% and a silver lion modifier of 330%. Going on to the customization, and there are 3 camouflages available for golden eagles, with my personal favourite being the black camouflage. So lads, if you already have the Jaguar GR1, is it worth upgrading to the GR1A? Well, I have to say boys, I'm pretty impressed. But stick around for the rest of the video to find out why. Are you struggling to unlock new tanks, planes and ships, or feeling left behind due to not having a premium account? Well, with the free GE Android app you can get it all for free. The developer of this app works directly with Gaijin, is 100% legal, and breaks none of the terms of service. Carry out small tasks, such as completing surveys and watching ads, and in return, you'll receive 3 golden eagles for War Thunder, speeding up your progression. When you earn 28 or more golden eagles, you can deposit them straight into your War Thunder account. Simple. If you download and install free GE with my link in the description below, you can enter my personal code and receive 10 golden eagles for free. Using this link directly helps me as a creator, but more importantly lads, it helps you. So let's help each other. Download FreeG from the Google Play Store and start planning on what you're going to spend those eagles on. Thanks again to FreeG for sponsoring this video. Moving on to the engine and performance, and the Jaguar GR1A is an attacker after all, so it isn't going to be amazing. But as I mentioned, we have the Mark 104 version of the Turbo Mecha Rolls-Royce engine. This produces 2,060 kg of thrust when at military power, and when afterburning, that increases to 3,350. We have 2 of these engines, giving you an insane amount of acceleration. Although the climb rate of the Jaguar GR1, 95 meters per second, isn't incredibly amazing, the combination of the afterburner and air spawn allow you to outclimb pretty much everybody in this jet. Just remember though, being at battle rating 10.0, you can be up tier to 11.0, and climbing high in the realm of semi-active radar homing missiles isn't a great strategy in my opinion. The plane does have a pretty good top speed however, of 1,591 km per hour. At an altitude of 10,500 meters. But again, you don't really want to be getting to that altitude. The Jaguar GR1A is a supersonic aircraft, however it does struggle to get to that speed. While pretty easy in a dive, when travelling horizontally and at low altitude, you will struggle to get past that Mach barrier. So at low level, it's best to think of the GR1A as a transonic fighter with very good acceleration. The turn rate of this Jaguar is also incredibly good, especially at top speed. Almost to the point where it feels kind of broken. In this plane you can outturn pretty much all of the MiG-21s, as long as you're within around 3 passes. After you've made around 3 turns, you do kind of bleed all of your speed, and this plane is only really efficient at turning when at high speeds. When you're low and slow, this plane is kind of like a bus. Luckily though, as I mentioned, you do have those 2 incredibly powerful engines. While not a dedicated fighter aircraft, Don't be scared from trying to reverse people in this plane, especially if you're at high speed. While you certainly aren't going to be winning any rate fights in this jet, a high speed reversal and then deflection shot is certainly possible. The plane has combat takeoff and landing flaps, as well as air brakes, a drag chute, as well as an arresting hook, theoretically allowing you to land on aircraft carriers. Overall, the performance of the GR1A is very good, and noticeably different than the GR1 before it. Most importantly, the more powerful engines. These engines, combined with the air spawn, allows you to climb sharply at the start of a game, and then come down on top of opponents and firing off your missiles. This is a very effective way to get kills at the start of a game. Alternatively, you can carry a heavy bomb load and quickly bomb a bombing base, before the enemy fighters have chance to take off and counter you. Either way, it leads to very effective grinding. Alright, on to the most important thing about a ground attack aircraft, the weapons. And to start, the Jaguar GR1 gets a targeting pod. This is similar to a modern T-pod, and is mounted on the belly of the aircraft. This is essentially a laser designator. You can laser target and track it. This allows you to drop guided munitions and reliably hit a target. Acquiring a target is also very easy, due to this T-pod having thermal imaging. The T-pod itself is quite effective, but rather limited in its usefulness in ground realistic battles, and is largely just a gimmick. While laser guided munitions are incredibly powerful in real life, in War Thunder, having to stay still to acquire, lock, and then track a target makes you incredibly vulnerable to enemy air defense systems. Apart from the targeting pod, you also have an RWR, or radar warning receiver, but the Jaguar GR1A does not receive a radar system. This isn't a huge issue in realistic battles, but it may be a downside for sim players. But on to the weapons themselves, and up first we have bombs. The Mark M1 540-pound bombs have a warhead containing the TNT equivalent of 168 kilograms. This has a destructive radius of armoured vehicles of 10 meters. We can also carry the 1,000-pound general purpose Mark 1 bombs, which carry the equivalent of 220 kilos of TNT. This gives them a slightly bigger destructive radius of 11 meters. Whether 540-pound or 1,000-pound bombs, you can carry a total of 8 of them, so you may as well carry the 1,000-pound bombs for the slightly added firepower. We then come on to the guided munitions, simply known as the Mark 13 guided bomb. These contain a TNT equivalent of 288 kilos of TNT, making them slightly more effective than the 1,000-pound bombs. Of course though, these bombs can be guided onto a target, either stationary or moving, as long as your targeting pod maintains a laser lock. Whereas you can carry 8 of the other types of bombs, you can only carry 2 of the Mark 13s. So in my opinion, as I said at the beginning of this segment, the laser guidance system is largely just a gimmick, which has very limited use in actual battles. We then have 2 sets of rockets. Well, first we have the SNEBs. These travel at 651 meters per second, and have a high explosive anti-tank warhead, giving them 300mm of penetration. However, this warhead only has a TNT equivalent of 275 grams of TNT, rather small compared to our next missile. These are the 70mm CRV-7 rockets. They travel much faster at 1034 meters per second, but have slightly less penetration. While they have the same high explosive anti-tank warhead, they can only penetrate 290mm of armour. However, the warhead of the rocket carries 1.19 kilos of TNT, giving them much better post-penetration damage, if not a little less penetration. We then come on to the air-to-air missiles, and these are the AIM-9G Sidewinders. They have a rear aspect lock range of 5.5 kilometers, an incredibly long launch range of 18 kilometers. While this isn't possible in game obviously, you can still make incredibly long range shots. Launching on an opponent up to 4 kilometers away is still an easy kill if your opponent doesn't maneuver. Although, with all AIM-9 series of missiles, you want to try to close range but between 2 kilometers and then launching. The missiles themselves have an uncaged seeker, allowing you to effectively lead the target. The missiles also have a maximum overload of 18 Gs, making them very deadly over medium ranges. We then have the stock weapons of this aircraft, the 30mm Aiden Mark IVs. You have a total of 150 rounds per gun, for a total of 300 rounds. The gun has a fire rate of 1,200 rounds per minute, and has the same great damage of all the other Aiden variants in game. Although the muzzle velocity of the Aiden cannons is pretty low, if you do actually manage to hit an opponent, you're blowing it out of the sky. Overall though lads, when I've been flying this plane, I've been taking the 2 AIM-9Gs and 8 1,000-pound bombs. I've then been rushing a mini-base at the start of a game, destroying the mini-base, and then turning into an anti-air player, hopefully trying to get a few kills with my AIM-9Gs. Another great strategy is just taking the two AIM-9Gs, climbing at the start of a game, and then attacking enemy players as they're taking off. This leaves them low and slow, while you are high and fast. No matter which way you choose to play the Jaguar GR1A, I'm sure you're going to have a lot of fun. Before we get into the conclusion, let me know down below what you guys think about the Jaguar GR1A, and which tank, plane, ship or helicopter you guys would like to see reviewed next. To conclude though, to be fully honest with you lads, I bought a talisman for the Jaguar GR1A. It's that good at grinding the British territory that I used the Jaguar to unlock the last few British jets I didn't have unlocked. While it isn't as sexy as the British Phantoms, it's reliable, fun and powerful, and it does that every game. While you can be up to 11.0 and face some pretty nasty opponents, you are fast, fairly agile and have an abundance of flares. The air spawn, combined with the missile and bomb loads, allows you to reliably get AI kills at the start of a match, before rushing opponents when they're taking off. This usually allows you to get 1 to 2 kills per game, as well as quite a bit of AI ground damage. This made grinding for me pretty easy, and I think the battle rating of 10.0 is kind of like a sweet spot at the minute in War Thunder. You play with the F4Cs a lot, as well as the lower MiG-21s. But to end this video lads, I do strongly recommend you unlock the Jaguar GR1. While the main selling point of this plane, the laser designation unit, is pretty much a gimmick, you're never going to use it in ground realistic battles or Air IB to be honest. It's still a fantastic addition to the British territory. And while the bomb loadouts aren't particularly amazing, considering you can carry the exact same ones on the earlier Jaguar GR1, the increased engine power more than makes up for the extra grind. I would strongly recommend grinding this jet.